goodness, it's hot. Yeah, I got it on silent. No, that's all right. That's all right. I don't want y'all getting uncomfortable. Father, I come before you this morning, and as I depart from our Torah portion today, I pray that the words that come from my mouth are for your praise, for your edification, for your glory, and for those who are watching and listening to me around the world. In the name and merit of Yeshua, I pray, amen. And I'm going to ask of this congregation to permit me to deviate from the usual Torah portion today, if you will, as I believe there is someone out there that needs to hear this message before we enter into the first feast, that of unleavened bread with our Passover. Before I proceed, this song that we just sat through singing along with C.C. Winans' Alabaster Box, it always makes me verklempt. Because no one knows the cost of your praise. And you weren't there. Chances are someone's watching or listening. You're about to get caught up in a storm, and I'm telling you, life is nothing but a hurricane. Sandy and I, when we lived on the coast, we rode through several hurricanes and tropical storms, and I'm telling you that from personal experience, and my personal opinion is that we're generally in one of these places that I'm about to list. A storm is about to hit you. We can see it. We're trying to prepare. We can see the water rising, the trees are bending, and you've done everything possible, but it doesn't seem to be enough. Maybe your marriage is on the rocks. Maybe you bit off more than you can chew, and pride won't allow you to ask for help. You've been putting off the inevitable, but now it's time to pay up. Maybe the winds have already reached gale force, and you're just trying to hold on for dear life. The waves are relentless. They just suck our joy out to sea. Winds that rip our sails of hope by the seams, rising tides that seep in past our foundations and just flood the floor of our hearts. Laying in your bed at night, the thoughts crowd your mind. You can't sleep. Why am I so unhappy? You ask yourself the same questions King Solomon asked in his Ecclesiastes. What's it all for anyway? Who will know what I did? Why would they care? Who cares who I am? What is the purpose of it all? And you come up with the same answer that he did. It's vanity. It's all because of vanity. You realize the futility of it all. You come to grips with your utter failure as a human, and you can't hide from it anymore. And then the wave that you breathe in through your nostrils is the wave of finality. Uninvited and unexpected, it hits with a tidal wave force, washing away your youth, your innocence, your mate, your friend. And now you're soaked, shivering, wondering what is next. A depressing statement, isn't it? Rabbi, have you lost your ever-loving mind? You're supposed to be bringing a word of instruction, one of hope, one of encouragement. Well, I am. Did you get it? I am. The greatest news of all time, the gospel, is in these two simple words. I am. Wow. To the casual reader of the Bible, to those who have been in it in the faith for their entire life, the hours written about in the last few chapters of the Gospels really aren't unusual. We've become callous to the words, and we've begun treating them as, I know the story. You don't have to repeat them. You don't have to tell it all over again. I know it by heart. I know what's taking place. But do you? Well, I'm about to retell it. But this time, hopefully, prayerfully, you will find some anchor points in your storms of life. I had a friend in Southeast Texas by the name of Garland Melner. This man was a scoundrel. I tend to gravitate towards scoundrels. I think because maybe I am one. But we get in his bay boat. It was called a Cajun 16-footer with a V hull, and it had a 175 Mercury on the back. And he'd take me 15 miles out into the middle of the Gulf. I wouldn't have any idea where we were. The sun would be sitting sky high. I didn't know Sikkim from come here. And we'd fish. And then he'd turn around and he'd take us back and go right to the same place we left from. How he did it, I'll never know. But this same man always told me, he says, I never, ever tie my boat to the dock when there's a storm coming. He says, and he didn't realize that he was preaching to me that day, that particular day. There was a storm coming in. And he says, what I'll do is I'll go out into the middle of the bay and I'll cast out my anchors. And I'll cast them out loose. He said, I won't tie them to a dock. I won't tie it to a tree. I'll tie them to my anchors. Yeshua came in through the sheep gate on the first day of this pivotal week, this particular Sunday. Ahead of the sheep being driven into Jerusalem from the sheep pastures of the temple flocks, and he was inspected by the crowds, and he heard the shouts and cheers, the words, Hosanna to the highest, Baruch Hashem, praise the name. He had to come in through the sheep gate to be examined. That's required by Torah. The sheep have to be examined. After which, while everyone was busy cleaning their homes, ridding them of all leaven according to Torah, he cleansed his house, the Temple Mount. Later he reclined and dined in the home of Shimon the leper, and watched with amazement at the woman who knelt before him and bathed his feet with her tears and anointed them with the expensive perfume from her alabaster box and dried them with her hair. That's why I asked Sandy to play that this morning. He watched as she prepared his body for the inevitable burial. Nobody knows the cost. Nobody knows what was going through his mind at that moment. Only you can imagine. His mind must have been crowded with the events yet to unfold. You see, the city of Jerusalem was filled with people that were unaware of the historical shift about to take place, and it was a historical shift. We take it for granted. A shepherd watching over his flocks observed the streams of people making pilgrimage to the city. Maybe he thinks of all the years he has watched this same trek. As I was going into Jerusalem from the north one day, we were watching some shepherds in the fields, and I was thinking of this particular time. I wonder what goes on through their minds as they watch the traffic running down the highway from Samaria. Are they just thinking about their goats and their sheep? They're hungry or they're thirsty, or what goes on through their minds? Maybe he thinks of all the years he's watched this same trek and how many caravans, how many offerings, how many bloody carcasses. Or how about the exhausted and aged wife who is diligently cleaning her home in preparation? Was she thinking how many more years of endless toil, how many more meals must she prepare that's really taken for granted? How many more loads of laundry must she wash by hand? How many more times must she make the matzah? Or the priests who carry on their duty as has been for centuries before. The Messiah hasn't come yet. When will he? Will he ever? Will this year be the year? Or is he just fulfilling a role in a dramatic play in life where in the end he just lays down with his ancestors and dies? The disciples who didn't have a care in this world because they were in the presence of holiness. You know that time when you're in his presence and nothing seems to be going wrong. Everything is right with the world. The sun's shining, the birds are singing, everything's perfect. Did they even have a clue as to what was about to take place? Did they entertain the thought that maybe, just maybe, Yeshua was about to leave them? And then what? What would become of them? Always thinking, what's going to happen to me? Maybe Yeshua thought the celebration was ironic. You know, the streets jam-packed with people eager to celebrate Pesach. Marketplaces full of the sound of bleating lambs. The merchants making a lot of money this time of year by the selling and the purchasing of items to make this Pesach to be remembered. The hum of society at work was deafening. The endless observances. They awaken early and retire late. They find strange fulfillment in the pageantry of it all. Memories stalk each one of us, each one of them, in one form or another. Memories of uncontrolled anger, uncontrolled desire, and uncontrolled anxiety. So many mistakes, so many stumbles, so many regrets, and so few victories. Adonai seems so far away. Lamb after lamb, Pesach after Pesach, yet it still feels the same. Will the blood of yet another lamb really matter? Have you identified with anyone yet? As Yeshua and the Talmidim make their way back to Jerusalem from Shimon the leper's home, the question was raised, Master, where do you wish us to prepare for you to eat the Pesach? The rabbi says, go into the city to a certain man carrying a vessel of water and say to him, my time is near. I am to perform Pesach at your house with my Talmidim. You catch those words? I am about to perform Pesach. With everything he was going through spiritually, mentally, and physically, Yeshua was preparing the lamb that would really matter. Whew. And we don't give a thought as to what was going through his mind, the torments of his spirit, and the preparation of his body for the beatings and the lashings and the death that was coming. But he was. Maybe while they were enjoying each other's fellowship and food, he was thinking of the days he walked through the vineyards, remembering the lessons he taught about the vines as he touched the rough and smooth leaves. He is the vine. They are the branches, and cut off from me they can do nothing. Nothing. Reminding them that the sheep will be scattered when the shepherd was struck, as prophesied by Zechariah 13:7. Was he thinking of the fig groves that he walked through, that he first saw Nathanael? And would they remember the fig tree that he cursed because it didn't produce fruit when he wanted fruit? It was all a lesson. or the olive groves that populated Israel, and the lessons taught under them, and how it would be an olive grove that would be the last place that he would be able to pray with his Talmudim. Was he thinking of the time that Shimon Kepha revealed his true identity as the Messiah, the Son of the living Elohim, when he told them that they would all leave him, and told Shimon Kepha that he would deny him 3 times? Did his appetite fail him in the upper room, this, his last supper, when he gave bracha, broke the matzah, passed it around, saying, "This is my body, take and eat of it"? Was it poignant to him? Did he say it with tears in his eyes of regret? Did he wince as he made bracha over the blood of the grape and said, "This is my blood, that of the renewed covenant, which is shed for many. Take ye and drink"? Was he lost in thought of himself? Not him. Instead, after allowing the thief and traitor to leave, he took off his tunic, wrapped a towel around his waist, and began to wash feet. Wash feet. You remember the time you accepted him? You remember how you felt when you confessed your sins to him and accepted him into your life as your Messiah? You know what he was doing? He was washing your nasty feet. Wow. He was teaching them a lesson in forgiveness and acceptance. And the second thing that I'd like to bring to your mind is we may be in the eye of a storm in our lives. Maybe we've already come out of that storm, but now we're in the eye. Much like the Talmudim then, the sun is out. It's still calm, enjoyable. This was where the disciples were at this moment in the drama. All was right in this world with them. They sang the songs of Hallel. And the songs of Hallel are simply Psalms 113 through 118. And as they walk across the brook Kidron on their way to Gethsemane, although the nagging thought of the words of Yeshua and the prophetic words of his impending death was foremost on their minds, haunting their thoughts and ours, what was on their minds but shalom? The third stage is that we are emerging from the eye of the storm into the backside of the hurricane. Round 2. The next round catches us as it caught them. Yeshua is arrested. The one who Yeshua loves watched the kangaroo court proceedings with horror as they find him guilty of heresy. And they rip his beard out by its roots, and they strike him with closed fist. Who hit you then, King? Simon Kepha denies him. The remainder flees as Yeshua predicted. This story is unlike any other. This storm is a spiritual storm between righteousness and unrighteousness. The disciples you and I find ourselves in every day, we're like them. We lean unto righteousness, but our bodies demand unrighteousness. And like the Talmudim, we can't stay awake in the garden with him for 1 hour in prayer. Have you noticed that whenever you're in his presence, you can only stay in his presence so long before your body tries to pull away? It's too much. And this is why the children says, whenever he was speaking his commandments from Mount Sinai, no. You tell Moshe, he tells us, your presence is too much. Like them, all we can do is think and do what we must to save our own lives. We fulfill the prophet's words we read in Judges 21:25. In those days, there was no king in Israel. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes. The king was present with them at that moment as he is with us, and yet we have no king. We lose our sight of the King of Kings, and we become like Judas, and we sell him out for 30 pieces of silver. Here is our storm, the times we realize that he was right all along. He is the vine. We are the branches. And what good are we if we're pruned from the vine, no longer able to produce fruit? Then, like a brand new day, we realize of all of creation he has placed his hand on, of all the creation, there are some things Yeshua never touched. And this gave me great pause. He never touched money. It didn't rule his life. He never touched a map for a military or angelic invasion to rescue him from the stake. And nor did he write a letter explaining to all just what the last 72 months were supposed to have been about. He lived his life. He taught his disciples. He died a heroic death. And he became the victor of that death by ascending to the Father. Like the true husband, he lifts the branches off the ground and washes the leaves and supports them while they are still attached to the vine, and reminds us through time and space that whoever abides in him and he in them bears much fruit. Adonai is glorified that you bear much fruit, but you can't produce unless you're attached to the vine. I wonder, as you're listening to me, are you attached to the vine? You still have time before the pruning season arrives. And mark my words, the pruning season will come. Will you produce fruit now? This life is like a hurricane of epic proportions. It's worse than Katrina, because it is a hurricane of the Spirit. Are you anchored in deep water? Are you moored in his safe harbor by the anchors he has provided? If you abide in him and he in you, one of your anchors is that your life is not futile. God created you and placed you here in this time and place for a reason. The last few weeks, I've been really melancholy from the events of my life. And what's the purpose? Would anybody miss me if I died? When I died? Maybe a few weeks. But eventually, squabble over what few possessions I have. My life, in my mind, the last few weeks was futile. Wasn't worth living. I wanted to give up. God created you and placed you here in this time and place for a reason, was the message that I got. If you abide in him and he in you, another anchor that is given to you is that your failures are not fatal. You failed. You fell. You stood back up. A person that never fails never does anything. And the one who has the right to condemn you provided the only way to acquit you. You make mistakes. God doesn't. And he created you. That's anchor number 2. There's nobody else like you. He created you for a purpose. If you abide in Him and He in you, the strong anchor that keeps you afloat is that your death is not final. And incidentally, statistically speaking, 1 out of 1 dies. We don't get out of this life alive. We progress through death for eternal life. And isn't that our end goal, is to go home? I mean, that's where we come from. Why did we tenaciously hold on to this life? This final anchor that keeps you afloat, that your death is not final, is a reminder that the stone that sealed the tomb of our Messiah, you know why it was there? It wasn't to keep him in. When the stone was removed, when it was rolled away, it was to tell you and to reveal to you that he ain't there. Yeah, that stone. It should be an anchor that gives you promises of a day when you will reign with your King in paradise for all of eternity. And that ought to give you comfort. I know people, I meet them every single day of my life that don't know him. They have no clue of his existence, nor do they think they need him. If you want to be moored to these ankles, if you want to remain attached to the vine but you don't know how, I invite you to give me a call. I'm easily accessible through Facebook, Instagram, through YouTube. Just pick up the phone and give me a call. I don't care where you're at. I'll come to you. Because I've got to be that living reminder that all you've got to do is stop, turn around, and Abba covers all the distance to meet you right where you're at as you turn around. You don't have to take another step. But if you need help, if you need someone to explain the way, to guide you the way, I can point you to the signpost. I can't make you read it any more than I can make a horse drink out of trough, but I can point to the guidepost. But it's up to you to want to follow Yeshua. Father, I thank you for the words that you blessed me with today, and I think I'll quit right there. I think I've said enough. I pray that if there's just one person that heard this message and decided to turn it around, turn their life around, that it was a success and that your word didn't return to you void. I pray that the angelic beings of heaven are rejoicing for that one soul that claimed their spot in paradise. For the moment that you wrote their name, you inscribed their name in the Lamb's Book of Life. I thank you for it. In the name and merit of Yeshua, I pray. Amen. Well,